Hi, so I'm going to share my classroom management plan. I've realized the importance of having a classroom management plan and how if you don't, you're losing time for your instruction and you're losing time for the important things that actually matter in the classroom for them to learn. You lose time for those, and then you lose time to do anything else, do anything fun. You lose time for all those fun things if you don't have a good classroom management plan because you're so focusing on the behavior and you're focusing on keeping kids in line, making sure they don't mess around in class, and things like that. So, my classroom management plan, the layout of my classroom is going to be fairly simple. I would use a horseshoe method with my desks, and in the middle would be a rug. That rug would be for group time. That would be used for morning meeting because my kids are in first grade. And so it would be used for morning meeting, and I would have a whiteboard at the front facing the open side of the horseshoe. In the back, I would have a C table where I could do group work and any other assessments. On one side of the room, I would have cubbies where they could put their backpacks and any other important information. And then on the other side, I would have bookshelves and a reading nook for them for when they have time to do some reading and they have spare time. I would also have the teacher's desk up in the corner so that the teacher could still look at the students and watch them when they're doing work, but she wouldn't have to be right in the front of the classroom because more than likely she won't be at her desk teaching anyway. That'll be something where she's there for grading or another purpose. The classroom rules that I have, there's 5 of them, so they can count them on one finger along. If you do more than 5, then it gets to be kind of confusing and it gets to be super lengthy, and it's not needed. If you do more than 5, you should be writing them down for the students to see and constantly learning them at different points in the year. The first one, I titled it Listening Bodies because I want them to listen to the teacher and follow directions. And so from that, when they listen to the teacher and follow directions, they're going to be able to do things well and be able to follow directions and do things to the best of their ability. I would bring up how if they're not looking at their neighbor if they're looking at their neighbor with their eyes and their ears, then they're not paying attention to me. Even if they think they are, even if they think they can do both, they can't. My second rule, I titled it Respectful Actions because I would want them to be respectful of me as the teacher and their friends and themselves. And so I would teach them what respect is, and I would teach them some examples of that and how exactly to do that. The third rule is raised hands, so that just tells them to raise their hands when they want something. So anytime they want a tissue, a bathroom break, anytime they need help, anytime they want to get up from their seat, things like that, I would want them to raise their hand and let me know, because if they just get up whenever they want to, then that classroom management is going to be a little bit more difficult to attain. The fourth one is Caring Hearts, and it's all about how the students will be caring and kind and share with their classmates. This is important because if you have students that aren't kind and don't share anything, and aren't kind with their words or their actions, then it's going to cause disruptions and it's going to cause behavior. Though behavior isn't classroom management, the behavior will affect your classroom management plan. The fifth rule I have is excited minds. I want to tell the students to be excited. I want to have them know that it's okay to be excited. I feel like nowadays everyone gets worried about making a good impression or trying to be cool in classrooms, and so they don't want to be excited, but it's okay to be excited, and I would want to share that with them. The reason why I put that one in there is because it's good to be excited, because that means having positive expectations, and if you have positive expectations, then you'll be able to have a better successful year, because if you have positive expectations as the teacher and so do the students, then they'll be more inclined to want to do work and want to complete it well. So those are my 5 rules. And the classroom procedures, if I created a classroom procedure for everything I would have wanted to do, I would have had about 5 pages of classroom procedures. So I limited it to about 10. So my first procedure is the first day of school. The first day of school, everything would be prepared. So the first day of school, ideally every day, but especially the first day of school, the teacher should have everything prepared, all the papers, all the activities, name tags, any technology, all that would be set up. And as the students arrive, they would be walked into the classroom and they would be greeted by the teacher, and the teacher would want to greet them by name because it shows that she cares specifically about them. Once all the students are into the room, she can introduce instructions and any introductions that she needs to do. At that point on the first day of school, she would also explain the rules and the expectations of the students that the teacher has so that they know what habits they need to form and establish those routines earlier on. The second procedure is the absent and tardy procedure. If a student is absent, then he or she should look in their cubby the next day when they come back to see their homework, because in the top part of their cubby, there's a little box with their take-home folder. So that's where all the homework would go when they're absent. So they would look in there, collect all that, and the teacher, of course, because these kids are so young, would have to still talk to them and still make sure that they completed everything. And if there's any testing that needed to be done from when the student was absent, she would have to do that as well. The tardy procedure, the students would go straight to their desk, and the teacher should help them, give them the supplies to jump right into the assignment, because if they start doing something else or start doing something they would normally do at the beginning of the day rather than when they got there, that could be distracting for everyone. The greeting procedure, I kind of mentioned it, but every day when the students enter the classroom, we want them to be excited and we want them to be extremely excited for school. And so they're also going to be really social and be really loud because they will have just come in from home and they haven't seen their friends all night, and so they'll be super excited. So what I would want to do as a teacher is have them line up outside my door, and then I would greet each one of them as they walk in. But before I do that, I would remind them that they must come into the classroom quietly, that if we don't come into the classroom quietly, that we're going to have to try again. And as they come into the classroom quietly, that's when I would greet them by name, ask them a question, or compliment them in some way. And then I would tell them those expectations before so they know exactly what to do, so that if they come in and misbehave or are loud, they know exactly why they're in trouble or why they have to start over. So the reason why I really strongly implemented this one is because if you have your students come in super loud, it's going to set a little bit of a precedent for the first part of the day. But if they come in quietly and do what they're supposed to do, it'll help make things run a little bit smoother and calmer. When they enter the classroom, like the students themselves, they should put their backpacks and their take-home folders in their cubby, sit down. And because they're so young, there probably wouldn't be bell work, but we would have morning meeting. And so I would have them come in, and the transition from outside to coming in the very beginning of the day wouldn't take that long, because there wouldn't be too many students. So we would get into morning meeting pretty quickly. The morning meeting is where I would have them all come to that rug in the middle. I would show them the calendar. We would talk about the date. We would talk about the day of the week, the weather. I would ask them how they're feeling. This is a way for me to really know what's going on in their lives, not focus on school and just focus on them and how they can grow, and if there's anything big happening. So I would have them talk how they're feeling, what's going on in their lives, and things like that. Because this specific classroom management plan is for a Christian school, I would also bring up the Bible verse and talk about anything biblical that would be needed to be said for encouragement for the students. The transition and attention grabbing procedure for me would be, I would first tell all my students that need to be warned that we were about to change. There's a lot of students with disabilities or students with different mental situations that need to be warned ahead of time, or else they will freak out. So I would let those students know about 5 minutes before that in about 5 minutes we're going to start cleaning up. And I would use an attention getter like class, and have them respond yes, and something like that. I have a few other procedures like the lineup procedure, the moving around the classroom procedure, the bathroom end of day or emergency procedure, but those are quite long, and so I don't want to explain all those. But the classroom reward system essentially is this Class Dojo, which is a point system, and it's an online thing where parents can see it and so can the students and the teachers, and so you can add and take away different points for a variety of things, and you can explain why. This I would use in the classroom for everything. I've seen it in so many field experience classrooms, and it's so helpful because the students know what it looks like to get a good point, what it looks like to get a point taken away. So they know what that sounds like because it makes a sound. So they know what that sounds like, and they know what that sounds like, and they know what it's going to be like, and so they eventually shape up their behavior pretty quickly. So yeah, that is my classroom management plan presentation, and I hope that you liked it.